Alright, back in the shop. Came up with a plan today. After going to the metal supply place and getting some more scrap, I was looking for some type of spacer to put in here so this wouldn't rattle around so much in there, and also make a little bridge for this bottom seal that goes on here. So I needed to get a little washer that size or some type of spacer, and of course I had nothing that even came close. I don't have a lathe, so that's not going to happen. So I went to the machine shop across the street, and they said it'd probably be a couple $100 just to make, this part and the spacer for this. So while I was driving home, I thought, I could probably get this pressed out and cut it, or I might just be able to cut this, pull it out, and then for the spacer for this, I don't know why I didn't think of it earlier, but this fits in there perfectly, and this fits in here. So it's perfect exact dimension. Might be a tiny bit loose, but I don't think it's not going to really matter for where it's going. So that's going to be the solution. So I'm going to get working on that. I'm going to try to cut this tonight. I got a cutoff wheel for my chop saw. Can't use the steel blade because it goes too fast, I guess, but that is acceptable. It's going to throw tons of sparks, and I'll use it to cut my my extension for the swing arm. So I'm going to cut this. Hopefully that'll work, and see what happens from there. So I thought that was a pressed-in bearing. It looks like it. I thought it was like a pressed-in stainless steel hub or something, but I don't know. After cutting into it, I cut into it from a few different sides trying to relieve tension, nicked it right there, and I was like, oh great, that's perfect. But I cut into it, and trying to get this thing to come apart to release what I thought was a pushed in something, just broke. It was holding on for dear life. I put a little wedge in there so I could pry it open, and it just fractured, broke apart. I think that's just machined. It wasn't actually a pressed in sleeve or anything like that. So if I would have known that, I would have tried just cutting from here straight across, but now I have that break right there. I don't know. I might just cut it off in the meantime, just cut this down here to at least just be able to hook up the top until I could get something either machined or find something that will work. I found a couple shims online that they're the proper outside dimension, so I should be able to drill out the inside or grind it out, or I don't know, do something and it's the proper height too, or at least pretty close. So I'm just gonna go with that, and I'm gonna get those shortly. So right now I'm just gonna get the top part to work by cutting the old tube off of the ATC, and that's about where I'll be. onto this, which is, I think, practically pressed on there. I mean, because this was actually pressed into there. But this is, you know, I'm going to have to press that on and then press the lower bearing on and all that type of stuff. So if I could make something, I'm going to end up doing that. Just so I don't have something with that notch on the side and the crack along the bottom. Even though it seems like it's pretty much just a grease type seal. I mean, the rubber that goes along the top is just to keep the dirt and dust and water out of the lower part of the bearing. So I think if this is fairly flat and sitting on top of this, it will be good. But anyhow, so that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna set up my grinder to figure out how to hold these things so I can grind them down. And then for the top part, this is the part that I cut off, which will end up just going inside of here. So I need to clean that up. And then that will fit on top of there perfectly. So excited that it worked out, and I'm gonna start grinding. Okay, everything turned out pretty good after grinding this down. That's pretty much exactly what I needed. I don't think that the little nick is going to really affect anything. And the crack on the side shouldn't affect it from sitting as flat as I need it to go. I was able to order some other parts online that I was considering, but it's quite a difference. It would require, I think, a little too much work. And then these, that's the exact exterior dimension. So, I mean, I could always do something like that, but then I'm gonna have to grind out the inside to make those work. So I think this is gonna be fine because it's pretty much just gonna be sitting down on top of this. This will be pressed in from the bottom, clamped on using that clamp at exactly where it needs to go. This will need to be pressed on somehow, pushed on. Same deal as if you're going to be putting the bearings on the bottom. You kind of have to press those things down on there. So that's that part. This part works perfectly on top of it because that's where it came from. So that will sit like that. Bearings will go on there. This will go on there. Be all nice greased up. It'll make the seal for the bottom of the triple tree, or bottom of the bearings. And then on the top, that part worked out perfect. I don't even think I could really easily get it out. I'm not going to. So that's how that turned out. Good enough for the government. And that will sit right in there. That's just a tiny bit of play. I mean, I don't think it would be any tighter. I guess I could check it with the old piece, just out of curiosity. A little more, but it's really not going to matter because the top one just is going to hold everything down. I mean, yeah, just hold the handlebar to the stem. The bottom ones will compress the bearings. That's actually holding it to the stem. This is holding the steering wheel tight. Top one, if I'm right. Yeah. And then, so I believe it was a success. Worked out pretty good. Pretty happy with it. The next thing I should probably do is, I guess I could wait until I try it on, because I'm going to just rough fit it on maybe later today. I want to see these stops. Look at that. I had to hack that puppy out. Those stops, I'm going to need to put them on there somehow. But I can make anything for something like that. I could just drill it, put some bolts in there or something. Look really cool that way, I'm sure. Guess I should probably cut that thing off just to keep it out of the way. There's no reason for it to be there. And that's it. Success. Cracky 2000 out.